Vishnupada Prakaranam. Nama Vishnupada would be right. So Nama Vishnupada Prakaranam and Ya Ekah location Sarvarupanam Sarvanamnam Tadashrayah Tasya Vishnu Padam Sarvam Vishnu Bhaktya Nirupyate. Yah Ekah Sarvarupanam Sarvanamnam Sarvarupanam Tatha Sarvanamnam Ashrayah. Tasya Vishnu Vishnu Bhaktya Padam Sarvam. Okay, Vishnu Bhaktya Tasya Vishnu Sarvam Padam Nirupyate. Then Nama Jani Vishnu Padani Namno Jatani Yani Vishnu Padani Athanantaram Tani Nirupyante. Adhatu Vishnu Bhaktikam Arthava Nama. Any word that has meaning except for dhatus and Vishnu Bhakti is called Nama. Maybe we can read Amrita for this one. The word Vishnu Bhaktika is formed by applying the Tadhita Pratyeka in the sense of the original word. Thus Vishnu Bhaktika is equal to Vishnu Bhakti. The word Dhatu Vishnu Bhaktika refers to the totality of Dhatus and Vishnu Bhaktis. And Adhatu Vishnu Bhaktika means not Adhatu Vishnu Bhaktika. Okay. Or else Adhatu Vishnu Bhaktika is formed by Tadhita Pratyeka that is applied at the end of a Pitambara Samasa. Thus Adhatu Vishnu Bhaktika would mean that in which there is no Dhatus or Vishnu Bhaktis. The word Artha here expresses meaning and not purpose or wealth. Artha also means purpose and Artha also means wealth. Which are its other meanings. The word Vishnu Bhakti also indicates that which ends in a Vishnu Bhakti, namely a Vishnu Pada. Adhatu Vishnu Bhaktikam Arthavam Nama. Thus, the resultant meaning is that any word that has meaning, except for Dhatus, Vishnu Bhakti, and Vishnu Padas, is called Nama. Okay. The mention of the Vishnu Padas is to exclude words like Krishna, Bhavati, and so on from being Namas. If we were to accept a Vishnu Pada as a Nama, then Ahan, a Bhuteshwara form of the Dhatu Han, would undergo deletion of its final Na. What is that? So, what is the connection here, Ahan and Nama?
Is saying that if we were to take it as a Nama, if we don't exclude Dhatus and Vishnu Bhaktis as Namas, then we would apply the sutras from the Nama Prakarana, where we have the word Nama, and then we would just have pandemonium. Because you'd have Ahan and then Namantasya Vishnu Padam Vina. Yeah. Then you have Aha. So you could not have any 1-3 Bhuteshwara forms. Yeah.
Jiva Goswami makes it clear with the sentence beginning Tan Dhatu that the nang used in the word Dhatu Vishnu Bhaktika is used in the sense of exception. Dāsa. Dāsa.
As. Pari ut as. Oh, it's us and Khan.
Yeah. and is connected to both words. Yeah, this is connected to both of them. Thus, by his explanation, he refutes the possibility of Dhatu Vishnu Bhakti ka being a Shashti Samasa.
Because then it would be
Oh,
the Vishnu bhaktis of those things which aren't dhatus,
yeah, right, right.
but it has to
Dhatu.
be not dhatu and not Vishnu bhakti.
And one cannot say what's the loss if it is a Shashti Samasa, because by excluding the Vishnu Bhaktis related to Dhatus, the Vishnu Bhaktis related to Namas, namely the Swadhis, would be Namas. The word Samanatva is a mere gloss of the word Jati. The actual definition will be given later in the Tadhita Prakarana. In the verse beginning, Akriti Grahana Jati. According to the adherents of the Nyaya philosophy, something is a Jati, common quality, if it inheres in many and always exists somewhere at any given time. For example, Brahmanatva, Brahmanhood is a jati because the same quality of being generated from the mouth of the Supreme Lord inheres in every Brahmana. Similarly, Gotva, Kahood is a jati because the same quality of having a large dewlap inheres in all cows. A jati is considered eternal because of the steady existence of these various qualities, uh, unless there is breeding, due to the fact that the totality of Brahmanas and cows doesn't simultaneously perish when an individual Brahmana. I think it should be cow here.
Yeah,
Or yeah, it should be or.
Yeah.
Jiva Goswami describes the purpose of using the word Arthavat with the sentence beginning Arthavat Grahanat. Even though meaning is given for each Varna in the Ekakshara Kosha. Ekakshara Kosha. I was just thinking one more point. We had that sutra, Dvayakshara Dhaturantah.
Aksharadhaturanta purvascha sarveshas vischapar jagrikatadi varjam.
Yeah, that one. So, like we did Chiti Dhatu. So in Chiti Sangyane, we have Cha, Vamana E, then Trivikrama E, sorry, Ta, and then Trivikrama E is also counted there. So Chi is considered one, Akshara, Ti is considered one, thus we get two, Dviyakshara. But in the first Vritti, Narayana Varnakrama, what is that? Narayana Varnakrama. So in that Vritti, Jiva Goswami writes, Ete sarve Varnaha Aksharashta Ityadi. That all of these single letters, whether they're vowels, Sarvarna or Vishnujanas, they are all individually Akshara.
Yeah.
So if we see accordingly, then there are 4 Aksharas there in Chiti. You got my point?
Yeah, Dvyaksharadhaturanta purvascha.
Just like a separate point.
Yeah. Well, is there a difference between Akshara and Varna though? Because you can't make the sound cha without, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if we just, read here, like Jiva Goswami specifically mentions Akshara, Varna.
In the Vritti.
In the Vritti. That's why I was thinking. So, Ete, Varna, Aksharani.
I see.
So, Ete means all of these individually. Looks like in the Chanda, according to Chanda's meters, there the syllables, the count is different than what we're studying here. So I believe.
I think it's just the difference of how you count them. So for the sake of grammar and, like that, when you're trying to reference the individual Varna, or akshara, you can say like that.
Hmm.
But even we have to say narama.
Right.
So we still have to use the sarveshvara even to denote the letter by itself.
Hmm.
So I think in usage, like in that dviyakshara dhatu anta purvascha, a dviyakshara dhatu is something that has two syllables. Akshara means more like syllable there than varna.
Yeah. So even though a meaning is given for each varna, in the Ekakshara Kosha, a dictionary of monosyllables written by Purushottam Deva, the aggregation of varnas in words like Krishna and so on is not arthavat because there is no intention to speak the various meanings of all the varnas that comprise it. Rather, only when a word like Krishna is taken as one unit, having its own meaning, it is a nama. This is in accordance with the maxim arthavat grahane, anarthakasya na grahanam. This is interesting that each varna has meaning. Like we did few
Yeah.
there, Oramantana Manantana, that one.
Yeah.
So,
But then
and
it's not those meanings that come together to make the meaning of a particular word.
yeah.
The word itself has its own meaning. Actually, I've only looked into this a very little bit, and I don't intend to look at it because it's very dry. But there's very, very strong philosophies around language in Sanskrit and like Spotavad and all these, many big books written about the different ways language actually conveys its meaning and, robust arguments about that. It's very interesting.
So in the words, they are like collective meaning, not individual meanings coming together.
Mm-hmm.
Someone may argue in cases like Brahmato just Shasoshi, how is another Vishnu Bhakti applied after the Vishnu Bhakti Shas, since the Vishnu Bhakti is not a Nama? Is it talking of she?
Yeah, because we turned Shas into she.
So a Vishnu Bhakti should certainly be applied because the Anukarana, in this case Shas, is a Nama due to being Arthavat. On account of the desire to speak the difference between the Anukara and Anukarana. But when there is no desire to speak the difference between the Anukarana is under Nama as there is no separate meaning. Thus a Vishnu Bhakti cannot be applied after it. Whoa, this is something, How does Shasoshi? But this is just replacement, Adesha. Why Amrita is raising this point here?
Yeah, it's a little above my head.
Because Brahmata just Shasoshi doesn't say that after Shas it comes. It says in place of Shas, replacement, Adesha.
Yeah.
So, but the argument being raised looks like it's coming after Shas. Prakriti Purva, Pratyaya Paraha. So Prakriti is of two kinds, Nama Dhatu. Nama is also Pratipadikam in Panini.
Yeah.
They say Pratipadikam. Pratipadikam is very common actually. When I first heard Pratipadikam, so I was a bit confused. What is Pratipadikam? Because Jiva Goswami doesn't mention it.
Yeah.
Then after I was reading something and then I got to Pratipadikam means a nominal base.
Yeah.
So is there some similar word for Dhatu also? Verbal base also?
Like, no, they just say Dhatu. It's the same.
Dhatu.
Yeah.
Then Pratyaya Paraha, Second part of Vishnu Pada is called Pratyaya. So Swadis Akhyat Krit Tadit Tatra Namna Ityadi. Tatra Jatashangapayitah Ushcha Samvasirishcha. Among the Vishnu Bhaktis, Jatasha Ityadi. Vritti. And it indicator letter is so named because it goes iti. That is to say, it doesn't remain. The it is also called Anubandha. Sometimes an indicator letter is employed to add a pronunciation, sometimes to create a distinguishing characteristic, and sometimes it is the cause of the application of a rule or prohibition. There are also its a Sarveshwara with a Vishnu Chapa in a Siddhopadesha Vrinchi is an it. To be frank, like when I was studying this part, like Siddhopadesha, yeah, mainly the Siddhopadesha point, I was like not that sure. And my teacher also sort of just moved. The other point was a bit clear, uh, the Vishnu Chapa point, like Vishnu Chapa Sarveshwara.
Yeah. What is
Which
this?
also comes. Yeah, Siddhopadesha is still something beyond, but let's see. So there are.
Seems like it literally means in a completed instruction.
No, but I think it's not like that.
It's some like a it's a name for something, right?
Yeah, like a sangha sort of.
Sangha, yeah.
So there are also, these are also, it's a Sarveshwara with the Vishnu Chapa in a Siddhopadesha or Vrinchi. Siddhopadesha is actually this. Dhatus, Pratyas and Vishnus are called Siddhopadeshas.
I see.
So just a term. So Dhatus, Pratyas and Vishnus. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. The final Vishnu Jana in any one of those is an it.
It.
Yeah.
Or Vrinchi. So a Sarveshwara with the Vishnu Chapa in a Siddhopadesha, which means Dhatu Pratyaya Vishnu, or Vrinchi, is an it. The final Vishnu Jana in a Siddhopadesha or Vrinchi is also an it. The final Vishnu Jana in At, It, and so on, as well in the obvious Ang, Mang, I think this Atit is like the Panini Atit.
I think it's Dhatu Purvam At Bhateshwara Bhatesha.
Oh yeah, right. Dhatu Puramat. So the final Vishnu Jana in At, It, and so on, as well in the obvious Ang, Mang, and Anang is also an It. But the final Vishnu Jana in a Vrinchi, is only sometimes an It. Like Yak, we have Yak.
Yeah.
But that is Agama, that is not Vrinchi.
Yeah, that's Agama Vishnu.
That's need to do, need to and do at the beginning of a dhatu are also its. That's why tu oshvi, dukrin karne,
Dukrin karne, yeah.
ityadi. As are jata, no and pa at the beginning of a pratyaya, like just, yeah, just ityadi. Sh and ka varga are also its when they occur in a pratyaya other than a tadhita. Shap, kit, kam, no, kut, no. What was it? Krishna Nam, Radha Krishna, Sudami, that was Sudami. Kidagama Parasamandi, no, that is different. Anyhow, they are also it. What is that? This is interesting. Ata, na, sarma occurring in a Vishnu Bhakti is not an it. Um, like
Yeah. Yeah.
shus,
Shus.
then this would be
Um,
where na comes.
well, I mean, we also have the Dhatu Vishnu Bhaktis, so
Right. Tip.
yeah, tip.
But do we have anything with na, like na at the beginning or at the end somewhere?
It just says occurring
Ditaman,
Vishnu Bhakti, but yeah,
like
anta,
an is there.
a,
Ant,
yeah,
means if it is somewhere at the middle, then it could be. It couldn't be it for sure.
but un is there. It's at the
Yeah,
end.
but an is there. Like ante, how can we just do na as it?
Yeah.
So in an the dhatus, the kind of a rama and so on that has a Vishnu chapa is found in the Vedas. Literally, the Vishnu chapa is there. Is found in the Vedas. So Siddhopadesha is dhatus, pratyas, and Vishnus. Um, we read this or no need?
I think it was clear from the Vritti.
Amrita is just like giving some examples for those three reasons, points, Ucharana, Chinna, and Vidhi. We can just go through. The word Tatra here means among the Vishnu Bhaktis. Ja and Ta are its by Pratyayadya, Jata Ngapaha, Sha and Nga by Shak. I think this is from Panini. Shaka Vargavatadite, Pa by Antya Vishnu. The U of Su and the E of Nasi and Arits by Siddhopadeshe Virinchaucha. Siddhopadeshe Virinchaucha Savishnu Chapa Sarveshwara It.
I think this must be actually, these are quotes from the Vritti, huh?
Yeah, this one is, but not this one looks like.
I think it is because I don't remember it. I memorized the it prakarna in Panini's grammar. It's only 10 sutras. And that's not
Yeah,
one.
it is here only.
Yeah.
This one. So, yeah. Then an example of when an indicatory letter is employed to add pronunciation is the U in Su. Clear. Example of when it is used to create a distinguishing characteristic is the Ja in Jas or Sha in Shas. Example of when it is the cause of the application of rule is the Nga of Nge. Like many times it comes like Vrishnis, when Vrishnis follow this happens.
Yeah.
As well as the Cha in Ouch, Sansara Saharashiti, ityadi. The word an example of when an indicator letter is the cause of a pratisheda is the ka and yak, like Ishasena Govinda Vrishna.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh, I see.
Although in the Shastras, the following definition on an Upadesha is seen, still the word Siddhopadesha only includes Dhatus, Pratyas, and Vishnus because they alone are self-accomplished. Yeah, because we cannot say Nama to be Siddhopadesha because they come from Dhatus. So Dhatus are self-accomplished, Pratyas also, and Vishnus also. Why not Agama? No, Agama is Vishnu only. Why
Yeah.
not Adesha? Adesha? They're not Swata Siddha. So, yeah, so the Dhatus, Sutras, Ganas, groups of words that follow the same rule. Unadi Sutras, Vakyas, uh, and the Linga Anushasana, a work dealing with the rule of gender attributed to Panini, as well as the Agamas, Pratyayas, and Adeshas are called Upadeshas. Then it means Upadesha simply means accomplished. Is it?
I think more like Siddha means accomplished.
Originally means the original form in which a root goes. For example, this one looks something. Anyhow, yeah, that was it. Then, just on that sutra, such a long discussion.
Mm-hmm.
They must be having a lot of time.
Yeah. And a lot of intelligent people picking away at their system, you know?
Yeah. um, so, okay. The use of the nasalized vowel Savishnu Chapa Sarveshwara is borrowed from the Vedas as a means to instruct the rules of grammar. The ancients, headed by Panini, have also employed it as such in their grammars. Panini himself has further employed the Vedic device of swaras, accents, in his grammar for differentiating the Atmanepada and Ubhayapada dhatus from the Parasmapada dhatus. Wow. Siddhanta Kaumudi, commenting on so and so, says Pratigyanusnasikya Paniniya. The followers of Panini say that the nasality of a vowel should be inferred by the way in which an Upadesha is treated by Panini. That is to say that the Vishnu chap is not actually written down, but is understood by convention. In Harinamamrit Vyakaranam, Jiva Goswami usually points out the indicator letters himself in the Vritti. Yeah, this is there. And where this is not the case, the commentaries supply that information. Yeah, so actually it becomes easy with Jiva Goswami.
Yeah.
And it becomes more easy here in this version by Matsavda Prabhu. Because he has used those brackets.
Yeah.
So it really becomes easy. From now on, the indicator letters will be given in square brackets for clarity's sake. So that is really good. This is also there. I think in this version, it's not like that, but in other versions, in all the printed editions of Harinamamrita, we see that in the sutra and the previous sutra, as also in the next Vritti, the Vishnu Bhakti Su is listed as this Sum with a Vishnu Chapa above.
Yeah.
Yeah, the books I had also the same thing. But this reading is inconsistent and is actually a corruption. For if we were to accept that Su is the correct reading, the following question must be raised. Why is the Vishnu Chapa written only in Su when Masi and various other dhatus, Pratyayas, Vishnus and Virinchi also have Vishnu Chapas? Why don't we be consistent and write Masi and so on? There is no good reason for this. Indeed, the fact that one Vishnu Bhakti is written with a Vishnu Chapa, and the other reason when both of them are described here as having Sa Vishnu Chapa Sarveshwara. Very nice movie. makes the student search for a difference that in fact does not exist. Panini and other grammarians write the Vishnu Bhakti merely as Su and are consistent in not writing the Vishnu chapter of the indicated letters. But these editions inconsistently single out Sung, writing it with Vishnu chapter while not writing the Vishnu chapter of other indicated letters. So yeah, that was all right. Means personally, I do, like whenever I feel like going through grammar, so I read Vrittis and Amritas in detail.
Yeah.
So we get something more. Nama Sangish Chaturvidha. Yeah. Namas are of four kinds. So Purushottam Linga, Lakshmi Linga, Napunsaka, and Brahma Linga. The words Punglinga and so on are ambiguous. What is ambiguous? Not like vague.
Yeah, vague.
Sankshodhan is so clear. As Bahuvrihi Samasas, they mean one whose gender is masculine, and so on. But as Karmadhara Samasas, they mean the masculine gender, and so on. Actually, these words are used in both senses, but here they are Bahuvrihi.
Yeah.
Bahuvrihi. Interesting.
Because it's saying if you look at the vritti,
one whose gender is masculine.
Yeah, it's saying the Purushottamas are Pumlinga. So it's not saying the masculine gender is called Pumlinga. It's saying that those which have. Can you scroll up a little bit just so I can see the actual vritti? Yeah, one whose gender is masculine. How would we write that?
No, actually, if we see the vritti, it just says Pullinga Purushottam Sangha.
Yeah, but he's saying that we have to take this as a Bahuvrihi.
Bahuvrihi.
So he's saying that it would be Puman Lingaha Yasya, Pumlingaha, and that is called a Purushottama. Purushottama Sangha.
Wow, quite interesting, huh? The Purushottama Sangha means a word which has Puman Linga.
Yeah.
Interesting. Actually, these words are used in both senses, but here they are Bahuvrihi Samasas, as we are describing the four kinds of namas. Yeah, four kinds of namas.
Yeah.
So a nama is Purushottam Sangha. Like we have Krishna Sangha, Radha Sangha, ityadi. Similarly, we have Purushottam Sangha, ityadi. The proof of this is that the word Purushottam Linga here in the vritti is used in the plural. How? It's not plural.
Later. Tatra Sarveshwarantaha Purushottama Lingaha.
Oh, Sarveshwaran, right. For if it were Karmadharaya Samasa, it would be in the masculine genders.
Yeah.
Such a meaning.
Logic here, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's using some logic here.
Such a meaning would be contradictory because there is only one masculine gender.
Yeah. So it has to be Bahuvrihi. Because Purushottama Lingaha must mean those which have masculine gender. It can't be Karmadharya and mean the masculine genders, because there's only one masculine gender.
Vishnu Bhakti Siddham Vishnu Padam. That in Panini it is Tinganta Subanta Padam Vakyam. No. It's just Tinganta Subanta Padam. Vishnu Bhakti Siddham Vishnu Padam. The form of a nama or dhatu achieved through the application of a Vishnu Bhakti is called a Vishnupada. Earlier grammarians called it Apada. This shloka is also very nice and useful. Ganga Sarotavadevasa Bhaved Vidhi Ratah Paraha Narohati Paraha Purvam Yatro Padhir Na Vidyate. From here on in, the rules of this book should be treated like the flow of the Ganga. A later rule doesn't set aside an earlier rule where there is no upadhi apavada. A later rule doesn't set aside an earlier rule. When there is no apavada. Narohati paraha purvam.
So basically, unless specified, continue to use the earlier rules.
Let's read Amrita. The word asya here means of this book. The word upadhi means a vishesh kathana, specific statement. In other words, an apavada. The meaning of this verse is just as the current of the Ganga flows in reverse when an obstacle is met with, a later rule sets aside an earlier rule when there is a vishesha kathana. Yeah, that's okay. Like, for example, Krishna Nama, Krishna to Nase Smat, let's say, Nase Smat.
Yeah.
So that sets aside the rule Krishnat Nase Rat.
Yeah.
So a later rule sets aside an earlier rule when there is a Vishesha Kathana. So that's a Vishesha Kathana. The resultant meaning of all this is that generally an earlier rule is applied irrespective of a later rule. Yeah, if a later rule, there is no later rule, then of course we apply the first rule only, earlier rule only. Or sometimes it's vikalpa also, like harita apva lakshana nityam tu gopya. So harita apva. So when ap is not applied, then we decline words like hari shabda there, like mati shabda we did, and so on. We go to the earlier rules. So example of a later rule setting aside an earlier one are patistva samase. Okay. Na sakir, what was it? Na sakir hari sangashtada patistva samade. Patistva samade. Na sakhi hari sangha. That even the word pati is not considered hari shabda from ta onwards.
Or if it's not in a samasa.
Patistu asamase. But if it is in a samasa, then it will be declined like hari shabda.
Yeah.
So a later rule setting aside an earlier one. So just now it was mentioned before that pati is not hari, but now it is mentioned that if it is a samasa, then it is hari.
Yeah.
Khyatyaabhyam Nasinasaurus. This one.
This is also in Saki and Pati.
Yeah. Khyatyaabhyam Nasinasaurus. Dhatori Dutori O Sarveshwari Bahulam. This one is setting aside Idvamibaya Sarveshwari and Udvamba.
Yeah.
But what about this one? What it is setting aside? Khyatyaabhyam Nasinasaurus. Is it setting aside that one? Harer Govindadasi? Or
No.
Harer Govindadasi? No. Eobhyamasya, yeah, Eobhyam Nasingaswar Aramaharaha. Looks like that one also. Because
that one wouldn't work because these don't get Harer Govinda Jasi Vishnu Shu.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can keep it in mind though when we get there, we'll see.
Sar Rama or Vishnu Sarga Vishnu Padante. Sir Rama and Bro Rama become Vishnu Sarga when they are in. Okay, so why do we say when the Vishaya is Vishnu Padanta? Consider Asti, we have Sa in between and Kuryat Ra in between. So we can't apply. In this way, there is a sutra and then a clarification of the sutra. Okay, this is Jiva Goswami. Evam Sutram Tato Vritti. In this way, there is a sutra and then there is a clarification of the sutra. Due to such a fear of verbosity, Vistara Shankaya.
Yeah.
What is verbosity?
Extensive words.
Extensive words. The sutras will now be made in such a way that the meaning is conveyed by the sutra itself. The word vritti means sutra vivritti. Vivritti. Okay. The clarification, explanation of a sutra. The word sutram has to be supplied in this verse. Thus, sutram kriyate. What is that? Yatha syat kriyate tatha. Yatha syat tatha sutram kriyate. Okay. One should know that before this point, the speaking of vrittis was simply for the easy assimilation of the rules of sandhi. The definition of the word vritti is as follows. Sutra sthitanam varnanam Arthanam cha pratitaye vishuddha chadhika vyakhya vrittirukta manishibhi. That which ensures the clear apprehension of the varnas and arthas situated in a sutra. Okay. Sutra sthitanam varnanam arthanam cha pratitaye. Pratiti. Pratiti, clear apprehension. Okay. Insight into anything, complete understanding, ascertainment. So pratiti. That which ensures the clear apprehension of the varnas, artha situated in the sutra, and which adds additional information. Vishuddha cha adhika vyakhya. Why Vishuddha? Vishuddha is clear apprehension. Vishuddha pratitaye. Looks like it goes with pratitaye. But looks like it goes with vritti also. Vritti is feminine looks.
I think it's Vishuddha Adhika, huh?
Vishuddha?
And Adhika. Vishuddha goes with Vritti.
Yeah, cha is also there.
Yeah. Vritti is a Vishuddha Vakya. Vyakya. Vishuddha
Adhika Vishuddha Vakya.
Yeah.
But I think they have not added it here in the translation. It just says additional information. Adhika Vyakya. So Ukta Manishivi is called by learned men. This is interesting. The word sutram is singular as it expresses jati. I think this sutram was referring to this one. This is indicated by in jatyakhyayam ekvachane bahuvachanama. This will come in karaka. That for jati we can use bahuvachana or ekvachana. The verb kriyate has a futuristic sense by, this is again karaka, vartaman samipye vartaman vadva bhute bhavishyati cha. We were discussing this, right? Someday. I think not here, in the other batch we were discussing. That in the near future or near past also, um, we use present tense.
Hmm.
So that's why kriyate. Up until this point, Jiva Goswami has systematically clarified every sutra in the first line or first few lines of its vritti. He has done this by showing which words are carried forward and in some cases by using different words to clarify the meaning or different sentence structures to clarify the syntactic relations. As this method takes up a lot of space and in some cases makes for redundancy, he now sets it aside, preferring to make the sutra speak its own meaning. Okay. And to ensure an easy order of application, the sutras will not be made by adhikar. Otherwise, one would have to search out a different work that enlightens the ignorant. I think Panini went by this adhikara rule a lot.
Yes, there's a very big adhikar prakarana in Panini's grammar.
So, but Jiva Goswami has kept it very, uh, like very often, this adhikara or anuvritti. Sometimes only.
Yeah, he introduces them whenever they're needed.
I mean, I can just recall dhatoho in Akhyata, which is like the big, the sort of adhikara which extends quite like longer. Dhatoho. Otherwise, it's good, I think.
Yeah.
The word adhikarina here means duranuvritya, by carrying forward from afar. Adhikar. Duranuvritya. Na sutriyate means sutram na kriyate. The sutras will not be made. Okay. I think this sutriyate is nam dhatu.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, nam dhatu. Sutriyate. It's like Mumbai Hindi. In Mumbai, when they speak Hindi, so they add their own masala. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
comes like sutriyate. I don't know if you have heard such in the
I haven't.
Mumbai.
No.
So, uh, and Anyatha otherwise means if the sutras were made by Adhikara. The implied meaning is that in the grammars of Panini and others, all of the grammatical operations dealing with guna, vriddhi, prohibitions of guna and vriddhi, and so on are given all at once in the very place where such topics are begun. For example, in the Ashtadhyayi, wherever the prohibition of guna is necessary, uh, wherever the prohibition of guna is necessary in regards to an akhyata kritava, all such prohibitions are put in the second part of the first chapter by Anuvritti. Now, what is that? I don't know. What does it say? You have read Ashtadhyayi, Panini, something.
Well, it's the second. Guna is the vriddhi. The rule of vriddhi is the first sutra
In
in Ashtadhyayi.
Panini.
Yeah. The very first sutra is vriddhi vriddhiraich. Yeah.
Okay.
Vriddhiraich. And so it opens with some adhikara about vriddhi. And so
it just opens with Adhikara, means Vriddhi only.
Yeah, and then other adhikaras come, many other ones, because vriddhi is apparently, it's a word like om, the word vriddhi, so it ensures auspiciousness for the work, and it's the most, I guess for him it was the most economical place to put it. And then guna also comes shortly after, I don't think the next one, but maybe within the next 5. And then, some hundreds more adhikar sutras come. And then
doesn't give Sangya.
Say again.
He doesn't give Sangyas at the beginning.
Sangyas are there also, if I remember. I mean, I'm not super familiar, but I know that the adhikara prakarana comes first, and it's expected that you'll constantly go back there for whatever you need to use in the other prakaranas. Whereas Jiva Goswami, he does this thing where he only introduces them as they're needed.
Right.
Like we we don't get guna until we actually apply it,
Hmm.
you know?
Interesting. Different methodology.
Yeah.
It's certainly less work for a sutra composer to make sutras by adhikara. But for students whose intelligence is weak, the strange order of application arrived at by this method creates a lot of difficulty. Therefore, Jiva Goswami has set aside the difficult method of carrying forward from afar so that the order of application may be easily understood.
I'm wondering if Jiva Goswami wrote this before Siddhanta Kaumudi. Always meant to look that up.
This Harinamamrita.
Yeah.
We
Siddhanta
can,
Kaumudi, yeah, he wrote this way before Siddhanta Kaumudi. Siddhanta Kaumudi was written in the 17th century. So
Okay.
nearly 100, 150 years. And for this very problem, because nobody could study Ashtadhyayi that way anymore.
But Siddhanta Kaumudi, what pattern is there in that?
It's the Prakriya method. So they rearrange all the sutras in Ashtadhyayi so that you can learn them kind of the way Jiva Goswami is introducing them here.
Topic
But
wise.
then the problem is you can't memorize the sutras so easily, because if you memorize them in the Siddhanta Kaumudi order, for one, you're learning the Ashtadhyayi sutras and you're learning Siddhanta Kaumudi. And for two, now all the original order is twisted, because that basically what they do is they take and they introduce the Adhikar sutras as you go. You know, Laghu
Okay.
Siddhanta Kaumudi, Madhyama Siddhanta Kaumudi, and Siddhanta Kaumudi. So Jiva Goswami's work is much cleaner because he wrote his own sutras. And so you just learn them in order, and then you just know, and you don't need a second work, because that's what he said in the Vritti. He said, actually, this is very difficult, and so you'll need a whole nother work to enlighten the ignorant. And it's ironic because he was exactly right. I mean, I'm sure there were other works that were doing that too, but he was exactly right, because the most famous method 150 years later was written by Batoji Dikshita, the Siddhanta Kaumudi.
Indeed, he generally introduces a topic only when it is necessary. In the very same way, the author of Prakriya Kaumudi, Ramachandracharya, made the order of application easy to understand by rearranging the sutras of Panini's Ashtadhyayi. Bhattaji Dikshit also followed.
So Prakriya Kaumudi was around when Jiva Goswami, because he references it and he corrects it many times.
Also followed suit in his Siddhanta Kaumudi. I mean, it was such a thing, Sanskrit, at those times, that people were, trying to find out different ways to make it easy. Students can study. Like nowadays, people, they do a lot of research in other subjects, other fields. So Sanskrit was such.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think this is interesting, reading the vrittis and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it fine? I mean, such readings, or do you want some different way? Or
I think this is okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow then.
Okay, Guru.
So, okay, Hare Krishna.
Hari.
And happy Kartik.
Happy Kartik, yeah. Hopefully it's a nice one.
Hare Krishna.
Hari.